Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, now part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Join us as we explore the vital role of compensation, strategy, data, and people analytics in navigating today's complex business world. With the resources of Work Defined, we're bringing you deeper insights and actionable ideas from top HR experts. Now, here are your hosts, David Turetsky and Dwight Brown. Hello and welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast. I am your host and co-host of the podcast because I have my friend, partner in crime, BFF actually, Dwight Brown with me. Dwight, how are you?
I'm good, David. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great because this is going to be an allsalary.com episode because we have with us our partner from the training organization, Nate Rees. Nate, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to be with you guys. Yes, salary.com unite.
Yes. And we are the three beards. This episode is going to be subtitled The Three Bearded Amigos.
Beard Brothers.
The Beard Brothers.
Beard Brothers.
Or hashtag Manscaped.
That sounds like, a whiskey, actually. That could be, we could go into the whiskey business.
Beard Brothers bourbon. Let's go.
Yeah. You guys would have to try it because I don't drink anymore. So.
All right. We'll test it for you.
Thank you. That would be great. So Nate, tell the world a little bit about who Nate Rees is.
Sure. So I am, my official title at Salary is Director of Training and Talent Development. And I have been with you all for the past 3 years plus. A lot of experience on the training and development side. Plus about a decade of sales experiences as well. And so I actually started Salary as a sales trainer and just, here we are 3 years later and I'm in a different role, but still just trying to train up our people the best we can.
You do a pretty good job because pretty good job because
thanks, Dwight. I'll pay you later for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you did a pretty good job.
We have a lot of great training because we have a lot of technology and a lot of offerings, and you guys stay right on top of it.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's always a challenge, right? Because at the end of the day, sales makes the world go round, and in order to sell, you need time, and in order to train, you need time. Yeah. So it's kind of a constant tension of like, hey, we want to give everyone what they need, but it takes them a little bit of time that they wouldn't, normally be focused on training. It'd be focused on, selling or whatever the case may be. So exactly. It's a juggling act, but I appreciate everything that you guys said there.
Our pleasure. So Nate, before we get started, what's one fun thing that no one knows about Nate Rees? So
I had a really hard time figuring this one out, but because I don't really use social media to advertise anything I'm doing in my personal life. I consume it. I'm just a hypocrite. I use it one way. I don't spread the word.
You're a taker, not a giver.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So with that, my family knows, but that's about it. But I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan. I live in Denver. And for my daughter's 18th birthday, which was the season opener for the Broncos this year, we got to be on the field holding the Colorado flag for the national anthem and the flyover and the players' entrances and all that. So it was a really great experience. I had done it once before about 8 years ago, but for my daughter, she's a big Broncos fan too. So for her to be out there on her 18th birthday, it was really cool.
That's incredible.
That's cool.
Do you know Elway or how did you get that?
I'm a season ticket holder. Oh. And unfortunately, up until last year, I had to endure the last almost decade of just putrid football that had been happening here in Denver. But I waited it out. I'm like, sooner or later, they're gonna be good again. And so when I saw the schedule and saw that home opener was on my daughter's birthday, I reached out to my rep and I was like, look, I've been a valued ticket holder now for 8 years.
Yeah.
Can we do something special for my daughter? So it worked out.
And really cool that they did that for you though, Nate. It really is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Wonderful birthday present.
I'm a Giants guy, so I'm living through, painful living through.
I know,
not
but
just,
the
not
future's
just the
bright
season
with
that
you
we
guys.
have, but also that Daniel Jones is actually winning with the Colts. So
right, irony of all ironies, Daniel Jones lighting it up. Well, the Broncos and the Giants play this Sunday, so we shall see how your new quarterback and Scattaboo and those guys do.
I can just picture the team's messages that are going to be going back and forth on this one.
Yeah, they're not going to be fun. Well, there are a lot of people in Denver now, so there's a very large Denver contingent.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
But we digress. And everybody who listens to this podcast knows that the reason why we do this is to humanize every one of our guests. And I think we've quite done that nicely now. So now we know much more about Nate Rees.
Yeah, I am a human.
We are. Our topic for today is actually a really cool one. It's the manager training crisis.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Practitioner Corner podcast. It's a wonderful podcast about the journey, the paths of how practitioners, both HR and TA, kind of go from high school, college, all the way to where they are right now. Some of the things that they've learned, how they've been successful, people that thrive around them, etc. It's a fun podcast. You'll love it. You'll learn from it. Subscribe to it. Thanks.
What the hell is a manager training crisis? Because I think we both know that, you've trained a lot of people in your career.
Yep.
I'm not even going to estimate, but it's got to be a lot, right? What do we have to do when people are in a management role to make them better managers? What is this crisis?
Right. So to unpack that a little bit, because it's pretty eye-opening when you start looking at the data. So specifically, when we're talking about managers that have been promoted, 60% say they never received any training when they transitioned into their first leadership role. So let's just think about that for a second. We're talking about usually the people that are getting promoted are our best people, right? They're our best salespeople. They're our top engineers.
Operationally, they're the best.
Right. Highest performing individual contributors.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're throwing them at the deep end of the pool and not giving them any swimming lessons. And so, from a comp perspective, because obviously that's where we live on this podcast, we're giving them a promotion, usually somewhere between 10 to 15% salary increase, adding the word manager to the title and assuming, hey, that's going to be enough, right?
Oh, pat on the back. Don't forget that.
Oh, the pat on the back. Good job. Way to go.
Exactly.
But just because you're great at your job doesn't automatically mean that you're great at managing people that also do that job.
It usually means the opposite, by the way.
Right. They're different skill sets.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of organizations are missing the mark. I love this quote by Marcus Buckingham. He's an author, speaker, business consultant. He said, people don't leave companies, they leave managers. And I've experienced this personally on both sides, from being a direct report of a manager that did not get trained, was not the greatest in the world at doing their job, and eventually was shown the door. And then the flip side,
remain nameless.
Yes. Everyone shall remain nameless in this scenario. But on the flip side, I was put in that role. So I used to be in the mortgage industry, and when I was in the mortgage industry, over a 6-month span, I was promoted twice, from loan officer to branch and training manager, from branch and training manager to sales manager. I did not receive any training for either of those promotions. Now, thankfully, I had previous managerial experience, but a lot of the people that we're talking about don't. So consequently, they don't know how to coach or train others through that role, how to have difficult conversations, because as a manager, it's not a matter of if you're going to have difficult conversations, it's a matter of when you're going to have difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Right. And then to shift from thinking through, okay, how do I do this on a, how do I execute from a personal standpoint to now how do I get my team to execute? And we see this commonly play out, particularly with sales, because oftentimes a top producing salesperson will get promoted to being a sales manager, but they're put into what's called a player coach role, right? So, and this is what I was when I was in the mortgage industry. Not only am I now managing a team, but I still have my own personal quota that I'm trying to attain.
Yeah.
Now that sounds okay in theory, but there's only so many hours in the day, right? So managers have enough on their plate, but then you're adding a personal quota on top of that, and something's got to give. Now, usually what happens is what's giving is the one-on-ones. It's the team meetings. It's the coaching sessions. So we're seeing this play out. There's a domino effect on how these promotions are impacting the people on these teams. And from a compensation perspective, we're really compounding the issue because we're paying people more to do something that they've never actually been trained to do. And this is not just a U.S. issue. This is a global problem, right? Because worldwide, the cost of poor management is estimated to be somewhere around 8.8 trillion. That's trillion with a T. Look, I don't know how they come up with these numbers, Dave and Dwight, but if that's true, that's not just a training problem. That's a business crisis, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, to go back to your other point, though, when you promote someone and you're not giving them access to training, what you're doing is, and to the player coach thing you were talking about, and you also talking about the incentives, what are you telling them? What message are you sending them? You're sending them the message that be who you are and still perform. And we're also going to throw the wrinkle in where you need to make sure everybody else is performing too. Mm-hmm. Well, for someone who's never had that kind of a role or never been exposed even to a responsibility for some other person, even if they are a parent, there are no skills. There's no way they're trained to be able to do things like that. And that's scary. So what do people do? They go back to some of their most base skill sets of dealing with things. One of them is they react instead of thinking, and they get angry and they say, I just don't know. And those are the wrong things. So how do people in those situations, how do they even raise their hand to ask for? Because they don't know. How do they raise their hand to ask for those skills?
And that, I think, is a huge piece of this is kind of to your point. You don't know what you don't know.
No.
Right. And it goes also back to culture. Like if this is what your organization does, and that's all you know, then you don't know, like, can I ask for help? Should I ask for help? Like, and then let's be honest, like
who to ask for,
or who to
your
ask.
Your boss may not be any help at all.
Right. And let's just think about it from let's pare down to just on the U.S. side from a cultural perspective. Like we, everything in our culture and how we're raised and what we know is like pull yourself up from your bootstraps, right? Like don't ask for help. Don't be a squeaky wheel,
right?
And it's like, meanwhile, they're in the deep end drowning.
Especially if you've been promoted. They're like, well, you just got promoted. Figure it out. People can't figure things out like that, especially if they still have the quota and now they have this responsibility. Everybody around them is thinking that they know how to react to them and be able to deal with them in a constructive way. But if they don't have those skills, as I said, they're going to revert to some of their most base skill sets of reacting or overreacting or maybe even underreacting. And those aren't good. Those do damage those people's relationships with not just the manager, but with the company.
And their employees. It's, the other thing that comes from that is if you're not given manager training, the default, that baseline that you were talking about is, let's say I'm a great salesperson and I get promoted because I'm a great salesperson. What I'm then going to start to teach people or try to teach people is my methodology.
Right.
And, a manager who's been through good manager training has is taught the emotional intelligence that, your way worked for you, but be open to other ways of doing things. And so without that training, without someone to kind of say, here are some of the things you should think about from a manager perspective, you just, like you said, you default back to that baseline of this is the only thing that I know. And so everybody should do it my way. And we've all worked for managers like that.
And sometimes managers don't even know how they do what they do. So to be able to teach it, sometimes you have top performers that are just naturally gifted at something. Yeah. I think about, we were just talking about football, not to go on too long of a football tangent, but here in Colorado, Deion Sanders is the coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, right? So Coach Prime. Well, I mean, think about how amazing he was in his day, in his prime. Mm-hmm. But to be able to coach someone else to do that, at the end of the day, he just has natural abilities and skills that other people don't have. And so either you don't know how to teach it, or that other person just doesn't have that, and you don't really know, how do I coach you? Just do this. Do I kind of going back to your thing, just do it my way. And it's like, okay, that your way worked for you, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone.
Right. Yeah.
Enjoying the conversation? Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode packed with insights and strategies. Now, let's dive back in. Let's transition to the second question, Nate, because I think when you brought up that 8.8 trillion number, it's still rattling around my head because I can't even fathom 8.8 trillion. I wish it was in my bank account, but on the
I'd take half of it.
Monopoly money.
So if this is such a big deal, and we've all seen it in our organizations, not salary.com, of course, but in other organizations, why aren't more organizations putting money into training? This really becomes a bigger issue than just training, isn't it? So why aren't more companies dealing with it? That's
a great question. I think to kind of look at it from a 30,000 foot view first. So you've got 45% of managers who received training last year. So that means there's 55% that haven't received any training. And we're not just talking about new promoted managers. We're just talking managers across the board.
Right, because everything stays the same. So they never have to learn anything year on year.
Right. I've been doing it this way for 47 years.
Yeah, this AI thing and this internet thing and this computer thing. These are totally new, but we don't have to learn any of that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no. It's everything stays the same, right? The crazy thing is, for the 55% that have not received training, they have a 260% higher turnover rate on those teams compared to the managers that have received training. So going back to that Marcus Buckingham quote, it's not really people are leaving managers, they're leaving untrained managers.
Yep.
Right? And so from a compensation perspective, we're promoting someone, giving them a raise, and you're counting on them to retain and develop their team. But if there's an untrained manager, there's a huge negative financial impact because you're seeing almost 3 times the turnover rate on those teams compared to managers that have been trained. Yeah. And look, I'm sure it's all of these quotes and stats that are thrown out there so many times on your podcast and I'm sure many others as far as like how much it costs to hire someone, to replace someone who leaves.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of money, and organizations, kind of to your original question, like why aren't they getting trained? Well, they're thinking they're investing in the manager by giving them the promotion and the raise.
Right.
That's our commitment to their development. But the raise is just payment for increased responsibility. It's not a substitute for training.
Oh, sure.
Right.
And when I took over as sales manager, it was because it was a contentious situation. The sales manager and the ops manager was like cats and dogs every day, just
right.
tension, fighting. And at the end of the day, the CEO had to decide, am I going to keep the ops manager or am I going to keep the sales manager? Now, I was very close to the sales manager, and all of our loan officers were very close to him. And at the end of the day, the CEO said, he's got to go. I'm sticking with the ops manager.
Right.
And, all of a sudden, all hands on deck meeting Friday. This is what we've done. He pulls me in his office. He's like, Nate, it's your job if you want it. And I'm like, can I think about it? Can I take the weekend and chew on this? Because I knew
thinking this could be a bad
conversation. Like I knew it was going to be some rough sledding up front because of how close those loan officers were to that manager. But I came back Monday. I'm like, hey, this is still a good opportunity. I can navigate it. And the first thing that I did was I had 15 LOs at the time. I called every single one of them individually on Monday morning and said, hey, how are you doing? First, I want to check in on you as a person. This is a safe space. If you're mad, you're frustrated, you're sad, it's okay, right? And then the second thing that I said was how can I help you? How can I best support you now that I'm sales manager? I'm not going to do it the way that he did it, but I want to see how I can best support you. And thankfully, we didn't lose a single LO. Now, the only reason that I knew to do those two things was because I had experienced contentious situations like we were going through. But if it wasn't for that, I would have had absolutely no context of what to say, what to do, how to navigate that. And just to, I guess to tie a bow on it from a why aren't organizations doing this? It's a great question that I don't really have an answer to, because think about this. The other element of this is a lot of organizations will pay market rate or above to go recruit experienced managers from outside the organization, but they're not willing to put the money into developing the people that they're promoting in-house, which I think is, compounding the issue.
Well, and it leads to dissatisfaction because people are like, why am I working here if I'm not going to get the chance of getting promoted? They all equate promotion with this magical wand that gets them somewhere better. They don't understand all these challenges that you get along the way. And
grass is always greener.
Grass is always greener, yeah. So they go, oh, well, I'm going to go somewhere else and it'll be better for me and I'll learn more and I'll get promoted. And they go and they're like, oh, I liked it better. Oh shit, why did I do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The grass was not greener.
Yeah.
So Nate, let's get to question 3, because I think this is the kind of where the rubber meets the road. So if you're sitting there and you're listening to this podcast and you're a person who leads a team in HR and you're thinking, well, what do I need to do differently? What do I do to stop this incessant cycle where we just keep promoting people and we're not giving them the training they need? Is it something easy? Can I just say every time someone gets promoted, they have to go through manager training? Is there a magic wand?
Yeah, so I think that it's going to look a little bit different for every organization, but my encouragement would be just start where you are, right? When we're talking about big issues, it's easy to think that we need a big budget or we need some comprehensive program to fix it. But the truth is that you can really start making an impact immediately with where you already are and what you have. And so maybe that's identifying, okay, who are the next 3 managers that we're going to promote in the next 3 to 6 months? Mm-hmm. Or, maybe a year, because, things are slow right now with the economy. Thinking through, okay, for each one of those roles, what are going to be their 3 biggest challenges in their first 90 days? And I would encourage everyone, don't just make a generic list, but it needs to be specific to that person's role, your organization, your culture, the team dynamics for the team that they're going to be taking over. And then once you know those challenges, you can kind of work backwards and build some micro training. Look, even if it's pairing them with one of your top managers for an hour just to have discussions of like, this is what I wish I would have known when I got promoted, right? That's going to go a long way. And then I think tying into that, like leveraging existing talent. So you can create a manager mentor program, and that's actually something we're looking to launch next year at Salary. You can do that with zero budget. Gallup research shows that providing managers an experiential learning that includes mentoring and a peer community are some of the best ways to train managers, because it's not just, you don't just learn management in the classroom. You learn it by doing it, by seeing it done, by role models. And so if you identify your best managers, however you define your best managers, maybe it's based on high retention of a team or strongest team performance, whatever the case may be, but asking 3 of them, hey, would you mentor one person for 6 months? And just keep it simple, 30-minute check-ins twice a month where the new manager can go to their mentor, talk through any problems that they're having, and they can coach them through it. That's 12 hours of mentorship over the span of 6 months, and it costs you nothing but intentionality and time. And then I think that coaching is a big piece of this, to be able to teach new managers how to coach, because we tend to, when I say we, I mean organizations tend to teach more on transactional items like, okay, here's how to budget, or here's how to strategically plan. But there's not enough soft skills teaching of like, okay, how do you manage a team, and how do you navigate these hard conversations and difficult personalities on your team? Because that's going to be a foreign concept, especially for young managers. And there's a lot of conversation models out there that you can use. The first one that comes to my mind is the COIN model, mostly because we're actually teaching this model to our managers next week. And COIN stands for context, observation, impact, and next. So let's use a sales manager as an example. Your first is setting the stage of like, what's the context? Hey, I want to talk to you about your prospect follow-up process, right? Then the observation, I noticed 3 prospects from last week never received follow-up calls. Then you're sharing what the impact of that action or lack of action did. This could really affect our team monthly target as well as your individual goals. And then you're just talking about what's next. How do we change this? Let's create a system to ensure that there's timely follow-up happening. What ideas do you have? Let's talk about it, and then you open it up, right? Teaching them that concept takes less than 15 minutes, and then they can start using that every single week and just start building that coaching muscle, and building upon that skill, and then you can start teaching them other skills to layer upon that. Because I think that one of the biggest challenges isn't really budget when it comes to manager training. It's just consistency. Because a lot of organizations, they'll do like a one-day manager boot camp, check the box, and it's like, never think about it again, right? Well, we did that boot camp 3 years ago. Like, what else do you need?
Right. Exactly. You're supposed to be a pro now.
Right. It's a one-time fix, right? But it's really more about building a rhythm. And so you can do that a lot of different ways. You can do monthly manager roundtables where managers are coming together, they're sharing their challenges, they're sharing solutions. If you've got Microsoft Teams or Slack, having a channel specifically for managers to be able to stay connected and have a kind of a sense of community among each other, because as a new manager, you can feel very isolated, feel very alone, feel like, hey, my problems are the only, I'm the only one dealing with this problem. It's like, no, actually, everybody is, in different ways.
Yeah, Nate, I would be slightly worried about that though, because the stuff they might
from what
put
standpoint?
it would need to be moderated, right?
Yes. Yeah.
HR would need to stay on top of that. So things that are said in those channels, because the questions that might be asked, if they're answered in the wrong way, could lead you into legal troubles.
Right.
So,
but you put the guardrails around it.
yeah.
But,
have some guardrails.
Right, guardrails, exactly.
Oh, I was going to say, I think back. So I got manager training years ago. This was when I was first starting my career, and I was first starting in my first management position, and it really was effective because it had a lot of the aspects that you're talking about. We had ongoing monthly all-day classes, and then we had a peer cohort that we were interacting with in between, and we had the mentor that you're talking about. I'll date myself in saying that online communities were not yet available at that point. so we didn't have that aspect of things. But yeah, exactly. It was almost pre-internet. And now everybody knows how old I am. But it really was good for those things that you're talking about with helping with that feeling of isolation. Like, I'm the only one who is dealing with this, and I'm hanging out there on my own. I've got to figure out how to deal with this, when there was actually a community and a mentor that could really help me through those things. And I mean, it was a godsend having other people there to really navigate those tough things and feel supported along the way. I feel like it made me a better manager.
Absolutely. Well, I think this goes back to what Nate was talking about with culture. There's got to be an intentionality, that's a word, to this. So you are not forgiven for the time that you're spending on that, but you're encouraged to spend the time for both of you, the mentor and the mentee, and that the training is, again, intentional time. It's not hey, I need to pull Dwight out because there's an emergency. It's what he's doing is an emergency, so leave him alone. Right? We can figure it out. There's nothing that can't wait, an hour or a day. Unfortunately, though, we live in a world where that stuff happens all the time. People are pulled out. This thing is it's just training. Let it, we can interrupt it. And then there's then that intentionality goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that even if you implemented one of these things and you were able to track along the way, maybe it's retention on that team of that manager that's getting the training at 6 months or 12 months, or surveys of that team, getting feedback. If you can start tracking some of that, then you can also have a business case for expanding that program. So it's all of a sudden, hey, we're seeing, to Dwight's point, right? Like he felt like it made a difference for him looking back at it, and if we can show our leadership, like, hey, this is making an impact on our retention rate. It is making an impact on our managers, feeling like they actually know what they're doing.
Right.
It's going to go a long way. And then really ultimately you're going to be ahead of 60% of organizations that are promoting people to being a manager with zero support and zero training. So I think it goes a long way.
None of these programs will ever get invested in without that ROI.
Right.
It has to be there.
Yep.
And in bad times, we know that it's some of the first stuff to get cut, unfortunately, as well.
Right. But again, going back to if you can build a business case for it, if you can prove the ROI, of like, this is the money that we're saving by not losing managers, not losing the people on their team.
Well, increase productivity too, and increase throughput. And in your case, because you're the sales training lead, increase sales.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, multiple data points there to draw from.
And we love data points here at the HR podcast.
Speaking our language.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Nate, this has been great. This is exactly what we meant when we were saying, I think it was last year, Dwight, we need to get more people, or we need to talk more about training and development, because that's been one area that's been lacking for us. And you kind of gave us a lot to think about in terms of the measurement of these programs, as well as the effectiveness of, giving a manager the tools to make themselves and the people around them better.
One step at a time, one piece at a time, and slowly but surely you can make a difference.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us, Nate.
And Dwight, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And everybody, thank you very much for listening. Take care and stay safe. Thank you for listening to the HR Data Labs podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share it with your network. Also, check out the HR Data Labs Brown Bag Lunch every Friday on LinkedIn. You can also check out the recordings on Spotify. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.